Hello and welcome to another Bearded Geek toy review. In today's episode, it's the third of our Doctor Who specials celebrating the 60th anniversary of the world's longest running science fiction TV series. So stay tuned.
You've come to help me find the Zero Room. Welcome aboard. I'm the Doctor. Or will be if this regeneration works out.
That's the trouble with regeneration. You never quite know what you're going to get.
Welcome back to the channel, and in today's episode we're looking at the 1980s and basically the rest of the classic era of Doctor Who. Tom Baker had left after doing a record-breaking 7-year run in the role, and his successor was named as Peter Davison, who was already a very, very big star on television, as he was one of the co-leads of one of the BBC's top-rated dramas, All Creatures Great and Small, which was based on the books from vet James Herriot. Peter Davison only stayed in the role for 3 years, surprisingly, but he did see through the 20th anniversary. And within that 20th anniversary, they had the 5 Doctors, which was a feature-length special, which went out on Children in Need night in November 1983. Peter was succeeded by Colin Baker, who had the unique distinction of being in the show previously. He'd actually appeared in the opening story of Peter's second season, Arc of Infinity, playing a Gallifreyan guard who had the distinction of shooting the 5th Doctor. Colin's always said that he did this not really to get the role. Colin's time was quite controversial as it came along the time when the BBC really kind of like fell out of love with the show. Ratings were consistent, but they weren't really at the highs that they were during the Tom Baker and early Peter Davison era. Michael Grade, who was the new controller of BBC One, came in and with a new broom decided to axe a lot of long-running shows to make BBC One a refreshed channel and encourage more viewers to watch the channel. Doctor Who wasn't one of the only shows that got axed, but luckily, because of the outcry and because Doctor Who was such a national institution, they backtracked on that decision and decided just to take it off the air for 18 months for a hiatus. However, when it came back, it was with reduced episodes, a reduced budget, and you could see that probably the BBC didn't really love the show anymore. Colin Baker lasted in that truncated season 23, and then he was unfortunately dismissed in the role. He's probably the only Doctor who has effectively been sacked by the BBC. They said they needed a fresh face for the show to continue, and it was a real shame at how he was treated. But luckily, Colin Baker has proven how good a Doctor he could have been with the Big Finish audios. Colin's successor was Sylvester McCoy, who did another 3 years in the role and was contracted to a 4th series, which he says he would have done. But unfortunately, by this point, the show was scheduled up against the country's biggest soap opera, which was Coronation Street, which was getting highs of like 20 million viewers back in the late 80s. And Doctor Who could only really manage around about 5 to 6 million up against it. The BBC saw that as an excuse to basically say, well, let's give the show a rest. They never said that they were axing it. And after Sylvester's third season, they took the show off the air. Around that time, there was interest from American networks, namely a US producer who had worked with Steven Spielberg, Philip Siegel, who wanted to get the rights for the show to produce his own version for US television. Those negotiations took quite some time, but finally in 1996, Paul McGann debuted as the 8th Doctor, with Sylvester McCoy returning for a little quick handover and a regeneration scene. That TV movie was meant to be a backdoor pilot, which, if it was successful in the US, would then lead to a full multi-episode series, which would then obviously hopefully run for 5 to 7 years. I believe Paul McGann signed a 5-year contract with the US network that was making the show, Fox TV. It was a big success in the UK. It got over 10 million viewers, but unfortunately it was scheduled up against the biggest sitcom in America when it was aired in the US, Roseanne, and it didn't do the numbers. So therefore, Doctor Who languished back into the wilderness. And there it lay for another 9 years until a TV writer called Russell T Davies came along. But more on him in the next episode. Let's now look at the 1980s era of Doctor Who in action figure form. So here we have my display of the 1980s version of Doctor Who as we head into the 5th Doctor era and beyond. Obviously the 5th and 6th Doctors are on this shelf, and then moving along we have the 7th and 8th Doctors on that shelf. But first of all, let's concentrate on the 5th Doctor.
An apple a day keeps the,
No, never mind.
In search of our pterodactyl.
You know where he is?
Yes, that's why I'm searching.
Why do I always let my curiosity get the better of me?
Now let's start first of all with the actual original 5th Doctor figure, which is this one way at the back here. Now obviously this was quite a controversial release. It was part of that initial first wave of classic figures, and it was controversial purely because it didn't come with the celery, which the 5th Doctor was synonymous with, having on the lapel of his Edwardian cricketing jacket. It caused a lot of controversy, I remember, on Doctor Who toy forums at the time. But it was mainly put down to the fact that the guy in charge of the range, Alistair Duar, said he didn't like the celery. But he then later succumbed and he did add it to all future additional 5th Doctor figures. But that's the very first 5th Doctor figure, which was part of that range. And he came with a sonic screwdriver, surprisingly enough, because obviously this is based on his Castrovalva appearance. And briefly, the 5th Doctor did have the sonic screwdriver until the Visitation, which was one of the, I think the 4th or 5th story in his first season, season 19, when it was destroyed by the pterodactyl leader. And this is a figure based on his appearance in the Visitation. It came from B&M. This figure was actually previously released with the hat on in a Planet of Fire twin set with the not the Roger Delgado Master, the Anthony Ainley Master, which we'll get to a little bit later on. The sonic screwdriver was destroyed and then didn't make another reappearance until the 1996 Paul McGann TV movie. I really do love the 5th Doctor in his cricket Panama hat. I think it's a great look, and obviously there you go, there's the celery that's been added.
When did you last have the pleasure of smelling a flower, watching a sunset, eating a well-prepared meal?
These things are irrelevant.
For some people, small, beautiful events is what life is all about.
The TARDIS in the background is actually the second B&M 5th Doctor TARDIS that was released, and that tied in with that Visitation 5th Doctor figure. We did have a previous one, which was a Caves of Androzani version, which was based on Peter Davison's very last story, which was a bit more dirtied up and battered. And obviously that came with a 5th Doctor figure who was quite muddied and had a very, very dirty jacket as he appears in the final minutes of that story as he's about to regenerate. But we'll show you that TARDIS later on. Moving on, we've got some Cybermen here, and I absolutely love these guys. These guys are my favourite version of the Cybermen. These were part of the second wave of classic figures before the range went exclusive. And if you can see there, you can see these ones have the familiar Earthshock style moon boots on, as they appeared in that 1982 story, which is one of my favourites. It's an absolutely brilliant, action-packed story. And if you want to see a slightly new take on it, it is one of the Tales from the TARDIS episodes that's now on BBC iPlayer. Now, it took quite a while for us to actually get a Cyber Leader, which actually came in the 5 Doctors set, along with a third Doctor and a Raston Warrior robot, which we'll have a look at shortly. But I really do love the way that in the background of his mouthpiece you can see like that silver chin. It really just gives the impression that there's a living organism under there. I just love the whole design of that Cyberman from the 80s. Really, really good. From the same story, we also got a Earthshock set from B&M a couple of years back, which included 2 Sentinel droids, which is this guy here. We've only got one on display. And it also came with the bomb that was buried in the caves, which is a nice little accessory. And then moving on to obviously the 5 Doctors, and we've got obviously there's the Raston Warrior robot, which is a fantastic sequence where he destroys a squadron of Cybermen. And then I put the Richard Herndl First Doctor here because I thought that he kind of like quite, went there. I think it's quite touching that he's there.
I'm definitely not the man I was. Thank goodness.
They're all dead, you know.
There should have been another way.
Kill him!
I'm not here as your prisoner, Davros, but your executioner.
No, my slip hands in the air over here!
Why?
Because I'll kill you if you don't!
Not a very persuasive argument, actually, Stubbs, because I'm going to die soon anyway. Unless, of course,
I'll give it to a count of 3!
Unless, of course, I can find the antidote. I owe it to my friend to try because I got her into this. So you see, I'm not going to let you stop me now.
Towards the back, you've got the Silurian Warriors of the Deep, as they appeared in Peter Davison's first story of his final 3rd season. And these were a character exclusive, and they're actually still available on the website for $29.99. So if you want to pick up some more 5th Doctor figures, you can do. And then we've got 2 Daleks here, the Supreme Dalek and a standard grey Dalek. And then we have Davros, as he appeared in the 1980s, played by the wonderful Terry Malloy. Let's just pick him up. And as you can see, slightly different facial sculpt because obviously they'd redesigned the mask. And then rounding off the 5th Doctor era, right at the back there, you've got Sharaz Jek, which was a Forbidden Planet exclusive, as he appeared in Peter Davison's very, very final story, The Excellent Caves of Androzani. So there you go, that's the 5th Doctor era in figure form.
Whatever else happens, I am the Doctor, whether you like it or not. Rest? Nonsense. Rest is for the weary, sleep is for the dead. No more gumbo jacks. Never more a butterfly. Stars perish. Matter disperses, coalesces, reforms into other patterns. Other worlds. Nothing can be eternal.
Moving on to the Colin Baker 6th Doctor era, which is a little bit sparse for figures, sadly. And we'll probably see that as we go into the 7th and 8th Doctor eras as well. Obviously, you've got the man himself, which is an absolute brilliant figure. The way it's painted is just amazing. The paint work on this was absolutely top-notch. So authentic to the actual very colourful jacket that the 6th Doctor wore. And the reason why, obviously, we never got a re-release of this from B&M, and I talked about this in the recent Sixth Doctor TARDIS set review, was because, obviously, the expense of the detailed paint job. But, obviously, because this was the first wave of classic figures, it was on the high street, more retailers took it, so therefore the cost of the paint applications was obviously able to be done because more retailers were buying the actual wave of figures. So there's the Sixth Doctor as he appeared. And then since then, we've kind of like more or less had your standard. We've had, obviously, there's a Revelation style Dalek at the back. I believe that's actually a FX one. Let's see if that's still working. Most of mine FX Daleks, the batteries have all gone dead on, but let's just double check that one. So here's the Revelation Dalek that appeared in the concluding story of Colin Baker's first full season, because he did appear in the last story of Peter Davison's last season, bizarrely. And surprisingly, this still works.
You are an enemy of the Daleks. Exterminate. Maximum power. Fire. Daleks are the supreme beings in the universe. Seek, locate, exterminate. I obey. Emergency alert, alert.
Wow, quite a few phrases that it's got.
Pursue, pursue. You are an enemy of the Daleks. Exterminate.
Yep, there you go. So he still works. That's all good. I really do need to put some more batteries in the other FX Daleks that I've got, just so that they can continue working as well. There you go. There's the kind of like the white and gold style Daleks that appeared in Revelation of the Daleks. Then we have this cool stealth Cyberman who appeared in the sewers of London in the story Attack of the Cybermen, and this was a twin pack that came with a Sixth Doctor figure, Forbidden Planet exclusive, and I really do like that version. He looked really, really cool in black, but also still got the silverness to him. That is really, really cool. Do like that one. And then just in the background there, you've got Commander or Field Marshal Strike, I believe he's called, which was one of the Sontarans that appeared in the Two Doctors set, which was exclusive to B&M in 2019. Came with a Andragon-possessed Second Doctor with his bushy orange eyebrows and a Peri in the top that she wore in that story. Speaking of Peri, here she is. This is, I think, the Vengeance on Varos version that came with Syl, which he is behind her, looking very, very delighted. Syl is probably one of the most distinctive villains or monsters that came from the 1980s era. It's one that a lot of people do still remember. Brilliantly played by the actor Nabil Shaban. And I remember watching it, and when it was first broadcast in 1985, and my mum walking into the room, and she was absolutely bowled over at how they could have done such work, not realising that it was actually Nabil Shaban is a disabled actor. She actually thought his legs were in the tank that he sat on that were underneath him, but no. Brilliant use of an actor there to portray a Doctor Who villain. And then obviously you've got probably one of Doctor Who's most distinctive villains, this time portrayed by Anthony Ainley, the Master. Now this is a Planet of Fire version, which did come with a Fifth Doctor, was a Forbidden Planet exclusive. So he's wearing the suit, which is effectively a John Saxon suit. They've just put the Anthony Ainley head on him, and obviously they've done that purely for cost reasons. We've not had an Anthony Ainley Master in the proper outfit that he wore for the majority of his appearances throughout the 1980s. I wonder if we'll ever get one, but we do have at least an Anthony Ainley Master there. And then not part of the character options range, here's Frobisher. Frobisher is a shape-shifting alien who travelled with the Sixth Doctor in the Doctor Who magazine comic strip. And yeah, I just bought a penguin figure from somewhere, and he just stands there next to the Sixth Doctor. So I've got a Frobisher, even though a character I've never made one. I have one there. I just thought that was a nice, cute little addition.
About me, when you're living your life, one day after another, all in a neat pattern. Think about the homeless traveller and his old police box. His days like crazy paving. Do you fancy a quick trip round the 12 galaxies and then back to Perivale in time for tea? Great decision creates ripples, like a huge boulder dropped in a lake. The ripples merge, rebound off the banks in unforeseeable ways. The heavier the decision, the larger the waves, the more uncertain the consequences.
We shall become all
Powerful! Crush the lesser races! Conquer the galaxy! Unimaginable power! Unlimited rice pudding! Etc. etc.
Moving on to the Seventh Doctor era now, and if you thought the Sixth Doctor's era was sparse, then prepare yourself for the Seventh Doctor's era, because basically all that we've got is one companion and a load of Daleks and Cybermen. So here we have the Seventh Doctor. Now, he appeared as a Forbidden Planet exclusive in 2009, and he came with one of the Imperial Daleks in a twin set. So he's actually came with one of those. And then we, Forbidden Planet then did a 4-pack Remembrance of the Daleks edition, which came with these two Daleks here, which are the Renegades. So you've got the Supreme Renegade Dalek down there, and obviously a grey standard Dalek. And then it came with another Imperial Dalek. So it didn't actually come with a Doctor figure at all. And then it came with this guy, which was absolutely awesome. I remember watching this when it was first broadcast. The Special Weapons Dalek. Just how cool is that? Look at the weathering on that. It's a brilliant paint job. And this was later re-released in the Sound FX range, bizarrely, even though it doesn't speak or make any real sounds in the actual episodes itself. So that's a really, really cool variation Dalek that you've got with its massive cannon. I'll just put him down there carefully. And then you had a twin pack that Forbidden Planet did, which had this destroyed Dalek here with this horrible Khalid creature in the centre of it, which was cool. And then you had this, which is another brilliant figure. This is the Emperor Dalek. Spoilers for a story that's obviously was broadcast in 1988, but when you first saw this on broadcast, you saw an Emperor Dalek, and then in the closing moments of episode 4, it was revealed to be Davros all along. So that is just very, very cool that you get Davros in there, and again played by Terry Malloy. He made 3 appearances in the 1980s up against each of the Doctors. So we'll put him down there. And then besides that, for the Seventh Doctor era, we have the Silver Nemesis Cybermen, which have a slight variation on the costuming. They have additional piping, and they have a brand new weapon. So not really much to go on there, just a slight variant. And again, that twin pack was another Forbidden Planet exclusive. Ace is a brilliant figure, played by Sophie Aldred, and who is still appearing in the show now. She recently appeared in Jodie Whittaker's final episode, The Power of the Doctor, and also appears with Sylvester McCoy in one of the Tales from the TARDIS, reliving the events of Curse of Fenric, which was one of their stories together. The detail on her bomber jacket is absolutely fantastic, and yes, it does say Ace on the back. It's just covered up with the rucksack there. And again, that was another Forbidden Planet exclusive.
We all have a universe of our own terrors to face.
If we fight like animals, we'll die like animals!
Rounding off the Seventh Doctor's era, you've got the electronic TARDIS, which was released way back in 2010, and that came with the brown jacketed Seventh Doctor as he appears there. So, and that's about it really for the Seventh Doctor range. There's a couple of B&M exclusives as well that I've never opened, which I'll show you after we look at the brief Eighth Doctor range, which is effectively made up of about 3 figures.
A meteor storm! The sky above us was dancing with lights! Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes! What? These shoes! They fit perfectly. Yes.
Here's what our cameras in Hawaii saw.
I love humans. All of us seeing patterns in things that aren't there.
Distress signal, stop talking about doctors.
I'm a doctor. But probably not the one you expect.
A minute? That's ages. What if I get bored? I need a television, couple of books, any more but chess? Bring me knitting.
So here we've got the original release of Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor. Now this was exclusive to an 11 Doctors box set, which was a Toys R Us exclusive. And if you've seen my video of that when I bought the free pack of the 8th Doctor earlier this year, you'll know that I've done a head swap on that because the paint job on the re-released version was a lot better, so I've swapped the heads there. And then here we have the Time War version of the 8th Doctor as he appeared in The Night of the Doctor, which was the special mini episode. That was part of the 50th anniversary celebrations way back 10 years ago in 2013. I absolutely loved that episode, and it just showed the potential of Paul McGann and how good he truly is as a Doctor. If you're a fan of the Big Finish audios, you'll probably know that already. They're one of the major ranges that I collect. I don't really collect many of the other Big Finishes, but I do really make an effort to try and keep up with the 8th Doctor range because I absolutely think he's brilliant in the role. And there we have the Dark Eyes 8th Doctor, which is the other release that we've also got, with one of the Time War Daleks in blue behind him. And I did review that in a recent Paul McGann 8th Doctor figure review. And just a quick thing to show you, this is the Caves of Androzani TARDIS, and as you can see it's got quite a dirty, muddy base to it. So that was the variant that B&M released there. And again, here's another release from 2019. This is one of the B&M sets that was based on Silver Nemesis. So it came with a lighter jacketed 7th Doctor and a Cyber Leader and a Cyberman that had a slightly better silver paint job to them. I've just not taken them out of the package yet. But you can never have too many Cybermen. And finally here we have two, still in their packages, variants of the same figure set, which is basically based on Big Finish stories, but features the 7th Doctor in his TV movie outfit. So one is, I think, a little bit more accurate than the other. So basically what I wanted to do in a future video, I'm going to see if I can try and do a kit bash, because I really want him to wear the hat, because he wore the hat throughout his appearance in the TV movie. So I'm suspecting it's this figure that's more accurate, because it's got the lighter kind of like tweed jacket, whereas that one is just a little bit too dark. And he has the smiley face, which he really doesn't have much in the TV movie. So I'm going to see if I can then put that hat on top of the serious McCoy face, because they've never done a serious hatted 7th Doctor figure. So look out for that in the future. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did, please leave us a like. It really does help out. And also share the video amongst any other Doctor Who fans that you may know. Our fourth and final special, celebrating the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, will concentrate on the modern era and bring us right up to date from Christopher Eccleston to Ncuti Gatwa, covering all the Doctors in between. So check that out. That will debut in a week's time. But in the meantime, stay safe, take care, and we will see you very, very soon on Bearded Geek Toy Reviews. Bye now.
Where to now, Ace?
Home.
Home?
The TARDIS.
Yes, the TARDIS. There are worlds out there where the sky's burning, where the sea's asleep and the rivers dream. People made of smoke and cities made of song. Some where there's danger, some where there's injustice, and somewhere else the tea's getting cold. Come on, Ace. We've got work to do.